Welcome to another episode of Meet the Zor 9-Round Kickboxing. Coming up next. All right, Shannon, this one's going to be a good answer. I know it will be. How did you accidentally fall into franchising? Let's start there.
Yeah, it's a 15-year overnight sensation, right? Yeah. The quick story is been in martial arts my entire life. Started it when I was born. My big brother, who's 9 years older than me, started. And I remember going and watching my big brother do karate class at the local place. This is 1979 when I was born, by the way. So I just told everybody how old I am. But, long story short, we ended up partnering together as we grew in the martial arts business later in life. And, when we grew up and it became a real business, a martial arts business, we had 3 locations in South Carolina and did really well. And the challenge I noticed was it's very hard to create instructors. It's very hard to scale fast. It's very hard to, it's primarily a kid business. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just hard to open multiple locations. So I said, the vehicle of franchising really appeals to me. And I saw a model out there that was super attractive. They were doing really well. They had 8,000 units. They were, it was a women's only 30-minute circuit called Curves. I said, wow, I really love that model. I told my wife, what if we take what I know, which is kickboxing, take out the getting hit part. That part's no fun. Let's create a fitness program and make it 30 minutes. And it comes out to a 9-round workout. And that's why, so we opened the first location, no money, borrowed money from a credit card. I mean, it was very minimal. We had very early success and we knew then we had something special. And that was 2008. In 2009, we sold our first unit to a member. And then 2010, we did 9 units. I'll never forget. My goal was 10 in 010. And then we did 17, 43, and then here we are in 18 countries. So that's the short story.
How many locations total?
5. We're right just over 500 in 18 countries, and it's been a long road, but we're happy to be here, blessed to be here.
All right, so go back to 2008. You're deciding that we're going to franchise this thing. Now, I also started our company in 2008. And I'll say in retrospect, I was probably dumb and stupid that I didn't, and I mean that in a nice way. Like I didn't understand the opportunity that was happening, which was everybody else was scaling backwards and me not having money. I didn't need to scale backwards. I had the pleasure of scaling up because I wasn't used to any other lifestyle. Like if you think back to that moment, is that kind of the same for you that had you had success in 05, 6, 7, 08 would have felt a lot different for you?
Oh, I was the exact same place you were. I like to call it optimistically naive. Right. I was so optimistic. Just didn't know what I didn't know. And, sushi dinners were not a thing my wife and I did. I mean, we were just used to scraping and making it work. And then, so yeah, 2008 for me was like, okay, everybody's low. Let's just go up, let's go up. I had nowhere to go but up. So, I was in the same place.
When you look about or think about success today, like you obviously use the term, we're blessed. You've scaled multiple countries. Does the gap close? Like, are you chasing this gap that just continues to, like, it's the carrot that's beyond you that, all right, well, I hit 500. That was good. But here's where I want to go next. Like, can you ever close the gap now that you've been in this cycle of success?
You can't. I mean, it's a great question too. And I don't think I've ever had that question posed that way to me, but so great question. It's like, as Simon Sinek calls it, the infinite game. It's infinite. Like martial arts. The reason it's so cool is you're never going to one day be like, I got it. I have gotten the martial arts. I figured it out. I mean, there's so much to continue to learn. Same thing in business. My brother's a pilot, so he's the same thing in flying airplanes. You're just not going to learn it all. I mean, it's just always the next. So you just have to continue to set goals to help pull you. And yeah, so it's hard to close the gap. You're trying to every single day, but there's always something else out there. There's always another milestone, another goal to achieve, another thing to do, another place to see, another person to help. So it never ends. It's a great question though.
Well, and I'm sure like for entrepreneurs, like yes, the early stages is money motivation. Like we're building a business. We're not building a business for charity. There might be that component of making differences, but there's a reason we do it. And then it turns into like our brains are smart enough to tell us that we've made enough money to probably sustain an entire lifetime. But it's not about the money. The money ends up being almost like the scorecard. It's not about the cash. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, totally. No, you're so right. I mean, money gives you like opportunities and more choices than you had before, so it's just a vehicle. Money's just fuel. I just like to think of it as fuel, like you put in a car, it just helps you go. So I need the funds to help me have options to do things. But yeah, it's not about just the money. It's about enjoying it. Life's so short. And the older you get, the more funerals you go to and the more sadness you see. So it's so important the older you get and the more quasi-successful you get, that you're enjoying it more. In the beginning, yes, for me, it was about money. It was like, gosh, I got 2 kids I got to put through college. I got, a mortgage payment here. I got all these things. But at the end of the day, you never see, the old saying in the South is you never see a U-Haul at a funeral, right? You can't take that stuff with you. But it's these relationships you build and the love for humanity. You have to, and when you're in the people business, it's so easy to get jaded and want to hate people because they frustrate the heck out of you sometimes. And you just can't let that happen. You have to have this love for humanity. That's why in our core values, we have 3 love statements: love fitness, love people, and love 9Round. You never think kickboxing and love would go together, right? But I know love is passion. And you got to have that. And that's what gets me. My Sunday nights are more exciting than my Friday nights because I have that love and passion. So yeah, it's not just about the money. It's about doing something you enjoy, that you're passionate about.
And you're obviously able to get there as a franchisor. I mean, call it 1% of franchisors get over the 100 unit mark, and you've far surpassed that. So you're dreaming at a whole other level. But your insight that even if you're having a moment of gratitude, or you're giving yourself permission to pinch yourself and say, look how far we went from bootstrapping on credit cards. We have over 500 locations. How can you communicate that to the franchisee? How do you help them say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. X, pause a second and remember back to when you got into our business, what your dream was. You've already surpassed that. You might not, every franchisee probably will never close the gap either. But how do you take that wisdom and try calming down some of the anxiety of a franchisee?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I just spoke about this at our convention. We call it recommitting to the business. Recommitting. You have to, how marriage, sometimes you renew your wedding vows. That's a recommitment, right? So you kind of have to recommit to your business. And Heather and I, my wife, had the co-founder with me. She's our chief operating officer. We built 9Round from day one. We were operators from day one member at a time. We tried to sign up a new customer every day. That was our goal every single day. And it's a very simple goal, but yet a very powerful goal that really changed our life. And when you do that every single day and have this one single North Star focus every day, it gives you clarity, it relieves stress, and you know what your job is. You had one job. You got one job. Mm-hmm. And so I tell franchise owners when they have this overwhelm, because owning a business, there's this massive, you get overwhelmed because there's so much to do: marketing, accounting, bills to pay, rent to pay, people to train. There's so much to do. You got to narrow it down to one singular focus. And I said, listen, love on your members, love on the ones you got, but you have to get a new one today. And that single statement has created so many very successful 9Round franchises, and it's helped me stay grounded in what I do. In the franchise world, it's the same thing. I need to help one owner today. And I like to call them owners, not just franchisees. Franchisees, we're going through this thing in the home office. I don't want to objectify. They're a number. They're a franchisee, and I'm a Zor. No. We're one. We're one. We're trying to do the same thing. So the owners, let's give them respect for being an owner, because that takes a lot of guts and courage to own it, to fork out your money and buy something. And they bought into 9Round as a owner. So I'm going to respect that and then keep them focused on, hey, love the ones you got, but get a new one today. And that's how I translate that down.
So a few comments off that. I'm going to start with kind of the last aspect. If you go back to early stage McDonald's, in my opinion, what made them famous wasn't burgers, fries, and shakes. It was that they celebrated the owner operator. And so you made it very clear that this was Nick's McDonald's and Nick was a part of the community. And they didn't look at like franchisee was the terminology, but they were an investor, because ultimately they invest money in exchange to help you grow your business. And over time, and part of this is probably false perceived best practices, but the associations out there talk about ruling with an iron fist, and then we get into all the joint employer bullshit. But what you just said is so powerful, that we respect you as a partner in the business. We are one. And ultimately, when a franchisor does that, when a franchisor invests in franchisee success, franchisor makes more money. It's not a dumb equation. It's very, very simplistic. So I think that's awesome that you do call that out as a part of this. And I also think like your statement of take one day, one member a day, one franchisee a day. The beauty of that in the category that you're in, and if you go back to a Curves or early fitness brands, well, that's the same for a member too. I mean, every human being falls off the bus a few times in their life, and most of the time it happens on a fitness journey anyway. Like you go on fad diets and everything else, and all you're saying is like, forget about what happened yesterday, just restart this today. Yeah. I think that recommitment is such a valuable thing in life and in business, and then obviously to your approach that you're taking with franchisees, and I think that's admirable.
Well, thank you. And we've learned the hard way. We've done it wrong as far as communicating with franchise owners, and we've learned how to do it. 15 years, you learn a few things. We don't know it all by any means, but and Zig Ziglar said it best: if you help enough people get what they want, you will get everything you want.
That's right.
Everything. So, that's kind of our philosophy around here now. And when we have meetings, we say, pretend the franchise owner is sitting right here in the office, right here with us. Would you say that? Would you act like that? Would you be that way?
Great question.
And so that's going around our home office here, and hopefully getting attitudes, in the right place, because I think everything starts right here. Whether you're fighting in the ring or whether you're going to play a round of golf or whether you're going to go in business, if you're not right here in the head, right, it's not going to end well. So, yeah.
I mean, I think about this too. I wrote a blog post about this years ago. I said, hey, franchisor, and I knew there was a moment that everything that I write is triggered by some moment. So some franchisor was complaining about their franchisees, like they suck or they're not doing what I want to do. I wrote this post, and it was all about reflection. Go back to the day you said yes to that franchisee. At some point, you as the franchisor also have to take accountability on this, because you approved them. That's how they get into your system. And if you can go back to that moment and say, even with all the dirt that fell on this relationship, let's put it to the side and go back to that cheersing moment where we both wanted to kumbaya hug each other because we're about to go into business with each other. You go back to that and you push reset. You can win back with a franchisee, but oftentimes, like I think about a franchisee, even on franchise marketing, it's not that they don't want to market, they don't know how to. You've asked them to be an expert in everything in business. That's what entrepreneurs can do, but entrepreneurial people can't. Any comments on that?
I love how you said that. You're so right. We asked him to be an expert in marketing, accounting. Oh, send me a P&L. Or, sales. It's like, gosh. So no, you're so right. It all comes, you have to take full responsibility and a healthy dose of that. Not beat yourself up forever, but you have to. I look at everything as my fault, whether it's successful or not successful. It's my fault. Someone's like, but you couldn't control that. Well, maybe I should have been in a different place. Person rear-ended me, right? You know what? I should have left earlier. You know what? I should have went a different route. You know what? It's my fault. Oh, that person didn't make it in our organization. Whose fault is it? Is it their director's fault, or is it really my fault? I read a great quote. It said, people don't quit an organization. They quit the leader.
That's right.
So whenever I lose a teammate here, or, a franchisee is struggling, I look at me and like, my gosh, what can I do differently to change that? So yeah, it's a thing. And I just spoke at the Springboard event for young franchisors. I had an amazing time. I'm very honored to be the chair of the event. And I got to open both days. And that's one of the things I talked about. Giving the owners respect that you have. Don't get frustrated with them. Don't hate humanity. They are your customer. They are the ones that are paying your paycheck. You better respect them and better love them, because if you ignore them like your teeth, they will go away, right? So you got to pay attention to them, right?
I heard another line recently. It said, people aren't out to get you. They just care about themselves. And I thought about that. I was like, I mean, that's accurate. I mean, that's why. And if you can have empathy for that situation, and again, like where I sit or where you sit, we have both found success in life by the definition of financial or business success. But it doesn't hurt to still have some of that empathy and not be an asshole,
Oh, you know what I found too is like the more successful people I talk to, the nicer they are. I'm like, wow, it's like they have nothing to prove. They're fully open book. You can ask them anything, and they're happy and smiling to give you the answer. And that's the kind of person I want to be. When I see that, you know what, I'll tell you whatever it is. I'm not hiding anything, and I want to be the nicest guy in the world. I mean, that's the way I want to be. The more successful I get, I want to be more that way.
When you think about the dream, because in 2008, it's like, let's just be able to pay off our credit card debt. In 2009, it's like, all right, how am I going to pay for college and my mortgages? And then as life goes on and you continue to do the right thing and the business scales, it evolves. I don't think dreams ever stop, or I don't know that dreams ever come true. They just continue to evolve. How has your dream now evolved, or what is it today that it wasn't, 15 years ago?
That's a great question. And you're right. Dreams and goals will evolve and change and constantly change, and they do. And because what was important to me, I look back through some of my old goals, I write them down. And this is a great practice for people. I don't know if you do this, and when I look back at some of my goals that I set 10 years ago, I laugh because they're like so minuscule almost. I'm like, I set that? Come on. I mean, that's silly, right? To me now, but at that point in time, it wasn't silly. It was very serious. And it makes me smile. So it's a great exercise to do. But yeah, my goals change now, and I can think a lot. I think a lot differently on what I want to do with my time, because I'm 44 years old, and I see time get faster and faster, and time still baffles me. I don't understand it. It's like this whole quantum thing of it feels like 2008 still. I thought yesterday, and then on the other hand, I'm like, gosh, I've been through some tough, crazy stuff, and it just baffles me. See how confused I am talking about it. But the time, I'm very careful with the time. I'm very careful with who I'm around.
Yeah.
And I try to control, back to the time, my day the day before. So planning the day before, I take Sunday and plan for Monday, and take Monday night and plan Tuesday. And so just, I've gotten a little bit wiser on my time spend, the people I'm around, where I put the money. What charities we donate to. My wife and I are big proponents of giving back. And if we can't do it with physical time, we can do it with funds.
Yeah.
We also try to do it with some physical time too, with the office. But yeah, so I'm still ambitious as ever. I can't sit still. I got to keep moving. I love to work. I love to have a purpose, and I love to continue setting goals and reaching. But they change, almost weekly. What's important to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share my insight, and then what I'm going to try experimenting with. My insight is this, and I've thought about this. We've had interest in acquisition of our company, and there's as a tech business on that side, there's been some attractive offers out there. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, what would I do? Now I'm with you. I'm very conscious. I'm 43. I'm very conscious of time limitations and trying to make decisions based on what if this all goes away tomorrow? Am I happy with what happened today? And I'm thinking a lot about that too. And then I wrote this down a few weeks ago as something that I'm going to try this quarter when I do one-on-ones with our staff, which I would encourage franchisors to do this with their franchisees. I'm calling it dream catching, because if I ask a franchisor, tell me the dream of insert name and insert city, I bet you they don't know it. And that dream might just be as simple as, I always wanted to own a car, or I want to take my kid on this trip, or whatever it is. But if you don't have a grip on what your franchisees or your employees' dreams are, then all you're doing is playing a guessing game. And so I'm trying to cross apply my own mentality back to our staff to try to unwind that, because then if I know here's what I can do to help solve that, then maybe as a leader they'll appreciate that it's bigger than just dollars and cents.
Man, you're so right. I was telling my wife Heather just yesterday how I didn't like the way our performance evaluations go. Just the way we do them, and how could we improve that? And I said, one of the things we need to do is ask them what are their goals personally, professionally, and financially, right? What are they? And it may be some of the things you just said, to being able to buy a new car or take my family on this vacation or whatever it is. And boy, that'll really give some insight to me about how to motivate that person and talk their lingo and, relate to that goal and keep it in front of them. So that's a great point. That's a good dream catcher. I love it. I love that idea, Nick.
I was talking to another franchisor, and he was talking about an employee at his office, worked hard, moving franchisor. And he said, he's like, I wonder what this guy's dream is. He works hard for me. He goes, what's your dream? He goes, oh man, I just want to own an air conditioner. And it was such a very simplistic statement, but it was like, yeah, he busts his ass all day and he goes home to a hot apartment. At some point, you're going to get sick and tired of going home to the hot apartment. And this franchisor said, I wasn't just going to buy him the air conditioner. That doesn't help him. But I was going to give him a pathway. He's like, I can get it for him and then show him a pathway to pay it back. Then he's going to appreciate the fact that I didn't just solve his dream. I helped him work for it. But it was such a simple thing, but it made such a huge difference in someone's life that they might not be a lifer in a company. I don't know that lifer is a thing anymore, but they'll appreciate you. They won't torch the bridge when they walk out,
Well, I think he taught him a life lesson there, not just got him an air condition. I think he taught him how to set a goal and how to go for it. And he helped him with that. So yeah, it's awesome. Awesome, Nick.
We've talked a lot about the philosophical side of business. And I always like asking this question because ultimately there's going to be ghost candidates that watch this. You and I don't know their name. They're watching this video because that's how it works. Is there anything you want them to know about the business opportunity? Obviously with 500 units, there's very limited space available, but anything you want them to know about the business opportunity?
Well, there's a lot of space because 150 of those are internationally outside the U.S., 160 or so. So there's a lot of room in the U.S., a lot of room all over the world. Fitness translates everywhere. I mean, you just, again, if you want a fun business that is charitable by its nature because you're helping people with fitness, helping people feel better, and if you want a simple model and you want, we've been around for 15 years and I think we're pretty darn good at what we do. Proud of our team and proud of our franchise owners out there executing day in, day out. I mean, people can try a free workout at any location. We always give the first session free. And if they want more information about ownership, they can go to the website that you have there, 9round.com, and we're happy to help.
Well, I'll close in saying this. Two very important insights as we've talked with franchisees across many brands. I mean, we've profiled over 1,000 of them, trying to gain insights of really their candidate journey, because I think most franchisors celebrate last click and don't say, well, wait a second, how long does it take to go from impression to just inquiry, not just buy? And two things that I think are important. One, when we say what pushes you over the edge, it's only one of two things. It's either culture or culture and business opportunity. And under that culture side comes leadership and people. And my other statement is brands don't sell brands, people do. And that's where I like talking about the human side. Some of these conversations don't get there because we get tangled up in a business, but I'm glad you and I got to go there because someone's going to watch this and it doesn't matter what widget you're selling. They're going to say, I can believe in Shannon's journey and 15 years in a business and going through a time when every private equity firm in the world is trying to get you out of the way so that they can go scale this thing. Like you're still there. And I think that's a cool story. And obviously someday you won't be, you build things to sell and try things again. But kudos to you. Awesome sharing your story. And thanks for doing this.
Well, Nick, as a fitness guy, I love the McDonald's thing. I know that's probably not fitting, but I'm a big fan of the story, of the McDonald's story, and appreciate what you're doing. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. This is another episode of Meet the Zor.